después que él te cuenta que te conocí bailando. We're doing part 1, Cher. Okay? Cher is an icon. She is timeless. She is the goddess of pop. She is a star. She communicates love. I think that she is a magnet. She is so many things. I'm very, very embarrassed that in a past series, I said she was an Aries. I confused her with Miss Celine Dion, and I think we should do a Celine Dion series about her and her husband. Because she met her husband when she was 12. And I love Miss Celine, but there's a story there. Okay, Cher. Miss Cher is a Taurus, born May 20th. May 20th? May 20th, 1946. She's a Taurus sun, Capricorn moon. Let me just look up her chart, actually. Let's read the bitch. The chart. I'm not calling her a B word. She's a Taurus sun, moon in Capricorn, Cancer rising. Her Venus is in Gemini, and her Mars is in Leo. Yeah, she's letting you know. Okay. Her sun in Taurus is at the 20th degree, which is a Cancer degree, and her Cancer rising. And her Saturn is in Cancer. When I say astrology stuff, a lot of people don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I have learned a lot from wonderful people online. One of them is Chani Nicholas. Another is Eliza Kelly. I have wonderful contacts if you'd like to learn more about astrology. But moving on. Cher's mother has famously said that she almost aborted Sherilyn Sarkeesian. She says that she went to some back alley doctor and last minute couldn't do it. The pro-lifers love that one, okay? It sounds like to me that her mother at the time had a choice and still chose. And we love choices. But she wanted to abort because she did not want to be with Cher's father, who was an Armenian-American truck driver who struggled greatly with substance abuse and gambling. Her mother was a retired model and actress. She goes by Georgia Holt. She was born Jackie Jean Crouch, and she claims Irish, German, and Cherokee ancestry. And her Native American ancestry does come under fire. And we will be talking about that because when we talk about people's stories, we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the problematic. And I think only talking about the wonderful things about people does not create a whole image of a person. And we're here to learn about people, not so much glorify them. And if we can learn about the ways that people have fucked up or whatever, I think we find, more love for them. Accountability is a love language. It's the language that we know that they can do better. When people say that to me, I get angry. And that's human of me. Here's a picture of young Cher. So when Cher was 10 years old, her dad left, thus starting the absentee fatherhood. And Cher's mother suffered greatly financially and decided to place Cher temporarily into a Catholic orphanage. This has created a lot of abandonment issues for Cher because this was not supposed to be a long, I want to say drop off, but a long situation. It was meant to be, let me get my daughter taken care of while I get on my feet. But when Cher's mother came back to claim her daughter, they said, we take better care of her, and would not give Cher back to her mother. Sorry, excuse me. Her father left when she was 10 months old, not 10 years old. So Cher has told USA Today, the orphanage story has been a touchy one for my mom her whole life, and she didn't want to talk about it. I said, Mom, why didn't you just march in and take me? And she said, I didn't have the power. I didn't have any money or a job, and the church was so strong. I'd go and see you every day, and you'd be crying. And Cher didn't meet her father. So her father left when she was 10 months old. She didn't meet her father till she was 11 years old. And her childhood was very tumultuous, not just the orphanage story. Her dad was an addict, an opioid addict. Her mom was a single mom trying to find stability. She married 8 times to 6 different men. Hey, with a few of them, you're not sure. I get it. She's a certified lover girl. I get it. So her life was emotionally tumultuous and financially tumultuous. She didn't have a lot of stability financially. She says that she remembers putting rubber bands around her feet with her shoes on to keep the soles on of her shoes. There's another photo of young Cher. I don't know if this one was taken in an orphanage, but it does look like a school photo. Cher always wanted to be famous. She dropped out of high school in the 11th grade. Now, Warren Beatty comes into a lot of young women's stories. He's like such a playboy Casanova. He's a womanizer for sure. His sister's Shirley MacLaine, isn't it? I should definitely do a series on him and all of his exes. I feel like he's dated literally everyone. So in 16, she moves out of the house, decides to pursue a career in stardom, but not before she has an affair with Mr. Warren Beatty. She met Warren when he almost ran her over in his white Lincoln Continental. So when they met, she's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like chastising him. And then she looks and she realizes who she's chastising. She's like, holy shit, that's Warren Beatty. She told Playboy in 1988, when I was 16, I fucked Warren Beatty. He was 25. She continues to tell Playboy, Warren was dating his co-star from Splendor in the Grass, Natalie Wood, at the time. And Cher and him began hooking up. But Cher says, you can't call it a relationship. It's very Warren of him. Ugh. But she says that she did it because all of her friends were in love with him. Quote, of course, I'm one of a long list. Yes, you are. If you have watched Truth or Dare from 1992 with Madonna, he's in it. And he gets so jealous of Madonna in that one. He calls her a whiner. Remember when Madonna strained her voice and he was like, finally, some peace and quiet, something like that. I love that documentary. But yeah, Warren has... What did Tupac say? I get around. Okay. Of course, I'm one of a long list. I did it because my girlfriends were so crazy about him, and so was my mother, she told Playboy. I saw Warren, he picked me up, and I did it. And what a disappointment. That's why we love her. Not that he wasn't technically good or could be good, but I didn't feel anything. Shortly after her run-in with Mr. Beatty, Mr. Itty Bitty Beatty. Don't make fun of him. He's had his fun. I can too. All right. Sonny meets Cher in 1962. So Sonny was a songwriter and producer and protege of Phil Spector. Now, Phil Spector, if you don't know who that is, went to prison. Did he go to prison or he died before he went to prison? No, he went to prison for murder. We can talk about that. Let me write that down. Phil Spector. But I want you to do me a favor, and I want you to just pause this video and go to Google and Google Phil Spector wigs. That's PHIL space S as in snake, P as in peanut, E as in elephant, C as in cat, T as in tree, O as in octopus, R as in rat. Before he murdered a young innocent woman, he would definitely change the face of rock and roll. He is a musical genius, but also a murderer. So Cher was 16 and he was 28. And I know that when they first met, he was like, no, leave me alone. I don't want to be with you. Well, he was married and he had a baby. He was technically married. Him and his wife of 7 years were separated and he had a daughter. And he said he was only interested in being her friend. She was very persistent because she was a teenager. But whatever. She told Elle in 2018. From the beginning, they just had a connection. Everyone just disappeared when she first laid eyes on Sonny. Cher says he was the most unusual person I'd ever seen. So even though they weren't romantically involved, Cher was soon living with Sonny. He'd moved into a nearby apartment. At the moment, she was kicked out by her roommates. And he said she could stay with him if she'd clean the place. Reluctant to return home, Cher agreed to do so, even though she never actually cleaned. They kicked her out because she didn't have enough money for rent, by the way. And Cher has said that Sonny told her, I don't find you attractive, when they first met. So Sirius XM had an hour-long special titled The Cher Show, Making the Musical. And she says that it wasn't love at first sight for him because he was actually interested in one of her friends. I was with my girlfriend who was really beautiful. He liked her, so he didn't say anything to me. And he was like, okay, yeah, kid, like dismissive. Towards the end of that night where they met, they ended up dancing together because neither of the people they came to the party with danced. And the next day he moved into an apartment in her neighborhood and she went with him. Part 2, Cher. This is what Cher had to say about moving in with Sonny. I just went up to him and said, hi, listen, I'm going to have to move out of my apartment because I'm sick and I don't have any money and I don't want to go home and I just want to get out and do things and I don't know what to do, but I have no place to live and blah, 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 blah. And he said to me, can you cook and clean? And he goes, okay, listen, I have 2 beds. You can stay in my house. I don't find you particularly attractive. Okay. And she goes, okay, I can cook. And she said, I was lying. I cannot cook. I am not a domestic person at all. Through knowing Sonny, she ended up doing a lot of background vocals on Phil Spector's tracks. Phil Spector was a producer, by the way, not a rock star. I mean, a rock star when it came to wigs and murder. Cher said that in the studio, Sonny was the one that called the shots and she really trusted him and she really relied on him musically. Then one night they went to a movie and they kissed. Cher said this in 1975 of their relationship. It wasn't a fiery, sexy thing to us, but rather paternal, like we were bonded together. Bound together. I'm not going to talk about generational cycles. I'm not going to talk about your father's influence. I'm not going to do it yet. Okay. 2 people who needed each other almost for protection. In a 1977 interview, Sonny stated that Cher really wanted to be protected. I'm sure. Okay, just kidding. Yes, I am going to talk about it right now. So Georgia, her mother, did an interview with Ladies' Home Journal in 1975, and said this. It's strange, she told Ladies' Home Journal in 1975. But at that time, Sonny was the spitting image of her father, Johnny Sarkeesian. I think the father image had a great deal to do with Cher's feelings, but I didn't think it would have helped it if I said that to Cher. When a girl is as much in love with a man as she was, not much can be done about it. Thanks to Phil Spector, something I've never said before, Cher got some backup vocals on some really iconic tracks like You've Lost That Love and Feeling, okay? So, also on this iconic track, Be My Baby, background. Cher. Sonny felt that Cher could succeed on her own as a solo act. But she was so scared. She was such a scaredy cat of performing. So to ease her nerves, he started performing with her. So in 1963, Cleopatra comes out starring Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, and it's a massive hit. We've done the Elizabeth and Richard series. You know the backstory on that, how it took 4 million a bajillion years to film. It's a hit, and they decide to start performing, Cher and Sonny, as Caesar and Cleo. They recorded for Vault Records, but with like mild success, they decided, okay, fuck it, let's just do, fuck, that was embarrassing. Let's just do Sonny and Cher. In 1964, they had a wedding ceremony. They were not legally married. Sonny wanted some kind of ceremony to make it official. So we went into our tiny bathroom and stood side by side in front of our medicine cabinet mirror. Don't ask me why we chose the bathroom. There was plenty of space in the living room because we didn't have any furniture except his piano. I performed the ceremony and we exchanged rings and vows. We kissed and that was it. We were married. Then fame, they became super well known because of their song, I Got You, Babe. And it came out in 1965. If you've never heard of it, I'm going to play it for you. And I'm besides myself that you have not heard it. I'm not shaming you. I'm honored to be the person to show you this song. I'm just saying. What the fuck? I said it's You Got Me, Babe, not You Got This, Babe. But
well, I don't know if all that's true, 'cause you got me, baby, I got you. I got you, babe. I got you, babe. They say our love won't pay the rent, for it's earned, our money's all been spent.
Can't play all of it because TikTok's gonna take it down. Haters. So Sonny was kind of known for tinkering with the piano late at night and writing down like little jingles and lyrics. even though Cher was like fast asleep, at all hours of the night. And one day he woke up Cher with this melody, and he's like, I love this song, I love this song. And she was like, this is not a hit. I'm going back to bed. To quote Cher, she says, I just rolled my eyes and went back to bed. It sounded like not a hit song. In the beginning of their success, Sonny created Cher Enterprises, which he owned 95% of, and the lawyer owned the other 5%. Cher didn't own any of it. And here's a quote from Cher. Sonny did a couple of things, treating me more like a golden goose than his wife. A cash cow, if you will. They had an official wedding ceremony in 1969 in Brazil. And they had their only child together, Chaz Bono. Chaz was born a different gender under a different name, which I'm going to mute that name in the comments just in case anybody wants to be funny. And him and his mother remain close, and she has always been supportive of her son. Sonny and Cher went on to score a number of hits. But by the late 1960s, their popularity seemed to fizzle, and so did their marriage, with various reports of infidelity on Sonny's behalf. Everybody sit down. I know it's super shocking. Cher said, Stardom made Sonny a huge womanizer. One woman or even 5 was not enough for him. I found all this out afterwards. I asked him, how did you manage the logistics? I always say this. ¿Con qué tiempo? I was trusting and faithful with him. The truth is, I'm not so sure we should have ever been husband or wife. But Sonny was known to be extremely controlling. His domineering behavior and personality definitely took a toll on Cher and their relationship. So even though he created most of the material, Cher was very much a superstar and the person that people wanted to see. Cher says this, he told me when we were together one day, you're going to leave me. You're going to go on and do great things. And he wrote me this poem, and I wish to God I had kept it. He said, you are a butterfly meant to be seen by all, not to be kept by one. I wouldn't have left him if he hadn't had such a tight grip. It was such a tight grip. All things considered, the control issues, the infidelities, in 1971, they came out with a variety show. And I have to tell you something, that variety show, I've seen so many replays of it. I don't know if it's called replays. When people replay it on the TV, like late at night, and also after 2005, after Janet Jackson and Nipplegate happened, we had YouTube. I would watch the Sonny and Cher show religiously. That and Carol Burnett. You know who Carol Burnett is, don't you? You do. Let me write that down. Carol Burnett. I Love Lucy, Lucille Ball, Carol Burnett, and Cher and Sonny's variety show changed my life. It is my dream to have a show like that. It was called the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour. So most of the clips that you see them together, it's from that show. I'm going to show you a clip, okay?
Because we went out on the road and I got these sensational reviews on the road. I mean, Sonny Bono was fantastic in Vegas, super in New York, and dynamic in Los Angeles, and boring at home.
But by 1974, the marriage was just beyond repair, and Cher decided to leave Sonny. Cher said that she felt the pressure of both of their careers on her. Remember how we were talking about how Cher was the superstar and she's the one that people came out to see. Cher said this, I thought about jumping off a hotel balcony. Then I thought, no, I can just leave him. We've all been there, you know? Okay, for me, it's bangs. You know? It's like, I have to change everything about my life starting with bangs. And I go, no, you can leave. Okay. So when she told Sonny, hey, I'm going to leave you, he goes, all of America will hate you, by the way, if you do this. And Cher said, you know what, Johnny? Who the fuck is Johnny? You know what, Sonny? I just don't care. He wanted to shame her and make her feel like people were going to hate her before she even thought about leaving him. She says that he didn't want her to have any freedom and he didn't want her to grow up. What I think she's trying to say is that Sonny wanted to ensure that she feels that Sonny wanted to create a life where he was always going to be dependent on her. And I think for a cash cow to realize that they can do stuff on their own is not really good. Part 3, Cher. So Cher files for divorce in 1974, citing involuntary servitude as the reason for their split. He was crushed because he wasn't going to be Sonny and Cher anymore. That's really what hurt him. And that's what was sad, because he loved it more than I did, really, but he wouldn't give me my freedom. The divorce proceedings were ugly. She accused Sonny of withholding her fair share of money. So after disputing the earnings, Sonny said, fine, I'm going to take you to court for custody. It wasn't until these proceedings that Cher learned that she owned nothing. It was also in these hearings that she learned that she was prohibited on working on her own music, television, or film. She could do nothing on her own. In 2020, she told The Guardian this: we worked side by side for 11 years and I ended up with nothing. I worked really hard for that money and it never occurred to me that he would take it. Enter David Geffen. So he's a music mogul, and she started dating him during the divorce proceedings. David Geffen is the founder of record labels Asylum Records, Geffen Records, and DGC Records, as well as a film studio called DreamWorks. So not only was he her romantic partner during this time of her going through these divorce proceedings, but he also started to help her. He became involved in getting her out of these financial binding contracts. A crippling financial contract is what Cher referred to it as. This is what David has to say about it today. I mean, not today, but recently. Shut up. Today, Geffen sums it up this way: when they broke up, she was deeply in debt and under contract to him. It was a terrible situation. It was certainly specific to their relationship. It's hard to talk about this because of the fact that Sonny's dead. Sonny does pass away in a horrible skiing accident in 1980. We'll get into that. Let's just say that she survived all that. That's a weird thing to say, David. Okay. Cher says that David Geffen is one of the smartest men she's ever met. I lived with him for 2 years, and just on a daily basis, we had a wonderful time. I loved him. I didn't know anything. I went from one kind of take charge man to another, and David helped me so much. I had no money and no way to live. If it wasn't for David, I don't know where I would have been. I would have been on the street. Sonny and Cher were also battling it out for this house in Holmby in the hills. So one evening, while Sonny was away at a recording session, David Geffen decided to take matters into his own hands and hired 2 security guards to get all of Sonny's stuff, including Sonny's new girlfriend, and put them all out on the curb. When Sonny and David were near engagement, Cher breaks it off with David. David showered her with gifts, a Rolls Royce, and Cher told him, I hate this car, it's hideous, so he swapped it out for a diamond necklace. But she felt that what she found attractive in Sonny, she was finding in David, this controlling nature, this power, you know what I mean? Now David is openly gay, but he says that at the time of the breakup, he sincerely spiraled. He fell into a deep, deep depression. 4 days after her divorce from Sonny was finalized, she married Greg Allman of the Allman Brothers in Las Vegas. Their turbulent on and off marriage relationship lasted 2 years. She got pregnant and they had a baby on July 10th, 1976, Elijah Blue Allman. That same year, the Sonny and Cher show was the first show ever to star a divorced couple. But their on-screen banter about their personal lives kind of led to the cancellation in 1977. Perhaps too edgy. I'm not going to bring up cycles. I'm not going to bring up patterns. I just hope you see some similarities when I say that Cher came out and said that her then husband, Greg Allman, was a wonderful man, but also happened to be a heroin addict, like her. I kept going to rehab with him to help him try to kick the drugs. It was very hard for him. Then Elijah was born, and a year later, I left Gregory for good. As crazy as I was about him, I wasn't going to let him be around my kids. I feel completely understandable. They did release a joint album together in November of 1977. To the Hard Way is what it's called. But they broke up shortly after. They finalized their divorce in 1979. In 1983, Cher stars in a movie with Meryl Streep called Silkwood. And Silkwood is a movie about where Meryl Streep is a woman who works in a nuclear plant, and she's a whistleblower. And her man in that movie is that fine-ass Kurt Russell, once again. I know I mentioned him in another movie. There's also a lot of Confederate flags in that movie. It was a different time. You know what? Sometimes you're watching a movie and you're like, what the fuck? That's, you know, it's a big one. It's a big one in his bedroom, but it's a character. It's a character. But this movie really took her from like possible washed up status and tabloid drama to next level, you know? Here's a quote. Most of the time I couldn't get interviewed for things, not even for TV movies, and I couldn't find an agent who would handle me for pictures alone. They would agree to take me, but what they really wanted was Las Vegas and that other stuff. So I'd be with someone for a couple of months, nothing would happen, and I'd have to move on. People always said the same thing, like, oh, you're just too Cher. A good thing she's too Cher because she got nominated for an Oscar from Silkwood. The Chicago Tribune said this: no less remarkable is the transformation of pop singer Cher from TV variety show Clothes Horse to Meryl Streep's Oscar-nominated housemate in Silkwood. And after Silkwood, she started starring in all these films. I feel like a lot of the movies that I watched growing up had Cher in them. Like, imagining someone thinking she's not talented enough for the screen is crazy. There's a lot of Madonna shade in these interviews or these articles about Cher's new introduction into film, or even when people are looking back on Cher's career, people say things like, it's very different from Madonna, where when you watch Cher, you feel something, and when you watch Madonna, nothing really happens. Like, that was said over and over and over again. I think she was a great Eva Perón. I think I watched that movie in like 4th grade. Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is I never left you all through my wild days. It was the role of my dreams as a child. Anyway, so this completely changes Cher's trajectory. In 1985, she stars in Mask with Laura Dern. And in this house, we love Laura Dern. Love. Okay? And then it wouldn't be like for another 8 years that she would meet Billy Bob Thornton, Laura Dern, and they would be boyfriend and girlfriend. And then when she came back from a film, he was engaged to Angelina Jolie. Just crazy. Hollywood is just crazy. It's just crazy. But in Mask, she plays the mother of a boy with a bone disorder. And she won awards at Cannes for this. Best Actress, I believe, at Cannes for this. On this movie, she infamously clashed with the director Peter Bogdanovich. So she showed up to the Oscars in this kind of like tarantula-esque, and I'll read you why. Bogdanovich. Okay. I had the idea mostly because the Academy didn't really like me, she told Vogue in 2019. She added, they always hated the way I dressed, and I had young boyfriends, and they just thought I wasn't so serious. So I came out and said, as you can see, I got my handbook on how to dress like a serious actress. Okay. I thought it was more of a Black Widow reference. Like, infiltrating the Academy. You guys thought I was washed up. You guys never thought it took me seriously. Now look, here I am at the fucking Oscars. Not so much tarantula, you know? In 1986, her feud begins with David Letterman. She calls him an asshole. I'll show you. And I feel like a lot of people didn't like David Letterman. Julia Roberts was always kissing him. Do anything to kiss Julia Roberts, are you kidding me?
One reason, but of course that's not really the reason. What was the reason? I mean, you must have had a change of heart about something.
No, actually, I don't know, because I thought that I would never want to do this show with you.
Now, why? Now, let's explore this a little. Why? Because you thought I was...
An ass.
Part 4 is Cher. So Cher and David Letterman had a little bit of like a little feud. I like to compare it to like Jimmy Kimmel and Matt Damon, although that's funny. Those guys always get me. I gotta say, I could be in a terrible mood and I see Matt Damon freak out on Jimmy Kimmel, and it really does give me a good giggle. I hope that continues for years and years. I'd like a bit with Matt Damon. Matt, if you'd like to make a bit together, hey, let's start brainstorming. Let's start spitballing. I could pretend to not like you for money, but also in that clip in the last TikTok, who boos Cher? Get a grip. In 1987, Cher stars in 3 films. Real bitches know this one. Woo! I watched it as a kid. I didn't know what the fuck was happening, but I knew I loved it. And that's usually how I live the majority of my life, to be honest. So she was with Dennis Quaid and Liam Neeson in the thriller Suspect. Then The Witches of Eastwick with Jack Nicholson, Susan Sarandon, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Moonstruck with Nicolas Cage's old teeth. I mean, I love this movie. I really do. Cher is so good at playing a hard-working woman that takes no bullshit. I think of that character in Moonstruck. You know, she's just a girl trying to do the right thing, do right by her family. She's a hard-working girl, right? And then in Suspect, that was the first movie I ever watched of Cher's. I think I must have been like 8 or 9 when I saw it on TV. And she plays like a public defender, right? She plays a lawyer. And there is this one scene where she's talking to someone outside of a building, and it's really windy, and there's hair in her face, and she's talking to them. And I remember thinking, as a little girl, this woman is so beautiful. She really is so stunning. And right now, I think generationally, we live in a time where the concept of being beautiful, although we're so positive and we're so neutral and we try to pretend that we're all these things, but with filters and all this bullshit, like, I can honestly say that besides Y2K, right now, trying to feel beautiful or trying to step into like a beautiful space, it takes like revolutionary thinking. You have to shut out everything you've ever seen and everything you've ever learned. And people like Cher are not conventionally beautiful. They are gorgeous. She looks like someone that you would see on the train and you'd think about all day. You know? Moonstruck was the 5th highest grossing film of the year. She won an Oscar for this role, and the film won 6 altogether.
Cher and Moonstruck.
Oh, beautiful! It's like I'm watching it live. I'm ridiculous. Okay. Award shows used to mean something. Okay? I'll just say that much. No last name, baby. No last name.
Now I want to really say something. When I was little, my mother said, "I want you to be something," and I guess this represents 23 or 24 years of my work, and I've never won anything before from my peers. I'm really, really happy. I'd like to thank everyone I worked on with the movie. They were really fabulous. It was really a great experience for me. My makeup man, who had a lot to work with. My hairdresser, my assistant, my children who've been so wonderful, the lady who taught me how to speak in this Brooklyn accent. And I would like to thank the women that I was nominated along with, because I feel really, really good because they were so great. And I also would like to thank Mary Louise Streep, who I feel so unbelievable that I did my first movie with her and now I was nominated with her, and I feel really thankful.
Sisterhood!
Don't think that this means that I am somebody,
Oh, sure.
but
Yes, it does.
I guess I'm on my way. Thank you.
Oh! I mean, by this time, Cher was also receiving a lot of attention for her controversial lifestyle, her piercings, her tattoos. She, was getting some work done. She loved younger men, like Tom Cruise, like Val Kilmer. If you haven't seen Val, the documentary on Val Kilmer that he shoots himself and he produced with his son, it's incredible. It's incredible. I had no idea he was a Shakespearean Juilliard. I had no idea. I know that he was like, if you are someone that would read tabloids in the 90s, I did not know that he was that much of a dickhead, but that film is amazing. She also had affairs with Eric Stoltz, Richie Sambora. Who could forget Rob Calametti? The bagel baker that she dated, who was 18 years younger than her. She said this to People magazine. The truth was, if I hadn't gone out with younger men, I would have never had a date. Younger men weren't intimidated by older women, but older men in my age category, they weren't having it. If 21-year-olds could stop asking me out and men my age or older could ask me out, the world would be so much easier for me. But it is interesting telling a younger man about what it's like getting your own health insurance. Tom Cruise ghosted her. She says that Tom Cruise was like somebody that she really, I think she said that she loved him. She felt a real connection to him, and she really liked him, but he ghosted her. She called Tom Cruise her top five favorite lovers. She blames it on schedules. They always do. Celebrities always do. I would make time for Cher. I would make time for Cher. I don't care if I just starred in Cocktail. I don't care. After focusing on film for most of the 80s, Cher returns to music, thank God, in 1987 with an album called Cher, and then Heart of Stone with hits like If I Could Turn Back Time. I can't even imagine my karaoke career without If I Could Turn Back Time. Please. I'm not going to sing it for you, please. If I could turn. It's me, not Cher. If I could turn. All right, the next part to this Cher series. So this is one of my favorite photos of Cher. I think she looks incredible. I want to talk a little bit about the Turn Back Time video. It's an iconic video for many reasons. And it took a while for people to really see the iconism that was living within this music video. It ruffled a lot of feathers, and I think it's a tremendous story. If you have never seen the music video, what the fuck? But it would be an honor to show you this video. I'm going to show you, of course, tidbits of it, just in case TikTok wants to take this one down, okay? So, for the video, Cher planned to serenade roughly 200 actual sailors on the naval battleship Missouri, which was docked in Long Beach, California. The Navy, as it does with most productions that request their assistance, wanted assurances that they wouldn't be portrayed in a negative light. But as the Los Angeles Times reported, no one at the branch's liaison department bothered to ask what kind of costume Cher might be wearing. If you've seen the video, you know what costume Cher wears. When Cher boarded the ship over the July 4th weekend in 1989 for filming, she was sporting a sheer bodysuit with a black leather jacket, garter belt, and boots. The apparel was so transparent that you could see that Cher had 2 tattoos on her buttocks. And she had a single piece of black cloth that prevented Cher from a full frontal reveal. A naval representative named Steve Honda was watching filming. When he saw Cher, he gulped and insisted that she put something else on. You go tell her that she can't wear that. She declined. Once the video began airing, she was met with some scathing critiques by some ugly squares, by both military personnel and the general public. Another viewer wrote to both the Navy and then President George H.W. Bush, the one that threw up in that Japanese prime minister's lap, right? Give that a Google. Google George H.W. Bush throw up. Whatever. To alert them to Cher's rear-end nude appearance and her dismay at the Navy putting its stamp of approval on trash like this. Whatever, bitch. MTV even regulated the video, making sure that it only played between 9 and 10 p.m. for adults. Even so, the song topped the Australian charts. They've always known what's up. What's up, Australia? Somebody give me an excuse to go work in Australia, please. I really want to go. For 7 weeks, reached #3 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart and became one of Cher's most successful singles. If I could... Time. What's happening to me? You can never say Cher wasn't rock and roll. Say what you want about her, and people do. You can never say she wasn't rock and roll. Please. Bum, bum.
If I could turn back time, if I could find a way, I'd take back those words that have hurt you, and you'd stay. I don't know why I did this. I didn't really mean to hurt you. I didn't want to see you go. I know I made you cry, baby. If I could turn back time.
Who in their right mind would say, hey, stop the filming, she can't wear that? I would say, who needs the garter? I do get in trouble though all the time. Like if I have one alcohol and somebody gives me a mic, I scream, everybody take off your clothes. And not everybody laughs at my family dinner. So in the mid to late 90s, Cher's career took yet another turn. She's been through so many twists and turns. And she decided that she was going to be picky about her career from now on. So she turned down a lot of leading roles. She wanted to make smart career decisions, right? She was finally in a position of like power. She could choose what avenues she wanted to go down, right? But unfortunately she gets sick. She gets mono. She gets a viral disease, she gets sick. I don't even know why I try. She gets really sick and it affects her energy, and she can't dedicate herself to movies and music the way that she had wanted to. So she decides to come out with a bunch of products like health, beauty, exercise. I'm pretty sure she had an exercise tape, diet products. She earned close to like 10 million I'm sorry, if I was in 1987 and I saw that music video, I was like, whatever she does, I'm fucking doing. I still think that when I watch old videos of her, I'm like, what was she doing? She wasn't happy in love and she was getting taken advantage of. That's what she was doing. But anyway, so people started to say she's a sellout. You just can't fucking make people happy. You know, you just can't make people happy. She gives you gem after gem after gem, enough to win Oscars, fashion moments. Hello, she shows us her tuckus and the 2 tattoos. Not enough. So people start saying she's a sellout. Even SNL did this like skit about her, calling her this infomercial queen. So she tells the Ladies' Home Journal, suddenly I became the infomercial queen, and it didn't occur to me that people would focus on that and strip me of all my other things. You know, my mom says this thing about when the public and society and the media criticize women when they get older, especially if we have been watching their movies and listening to their music for years and years and years. Whenever especially like Bond girls, you know how the people like the Daily fucking Mail or the Sun will follow these women in their 60s and 70s and 80s and be like, what happened to her? My mom always says, they gave us their youth. They gave us their talent and their time. They gave us their souls, and it's not enough. And that's how I feel sometimes when I read stories like Cher's, where it's like, she gave us everything. All she wanted to do was sing, dance, and entertain, and it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. In the 90s, in the early 90s, she did Mermaids. So good. Is that Winona Ryder in it? Yeah, it's Winona Ryder. And that was kind of her first big movie hit after The Witches of Eastwick, right? With Jack Nicholson, Susan Sarandon, Michelle Pfeiffer. Just icon. So Sonny had kind of taken a different career pivot, and he decided that he wanted to run for Congress. And he ran as a Republican. This really strained his relationship with his son, Chaz Bono, because, I mean, Cher was so supportive. At the time, Chaz was a lesbian woman, and Chad said in The Advocate, that the gay magazine, about how his mom really sat down and dedicated herself to understanding them and trying to remain close to their kid. And his father running for Congress as a Republican did not do their relationship any favor. In January 1998, Sonny died in a ski accident. Cher did an interview in 2017 with Vegas magazine and said, when he died, everything changed. When he was alive, we could fight or do whatever we wanted to, but then all of a sudden he was gone, and it was a big loss. A big loss. Our marriage was the least important thing that we did together. Cher's really good at the big picture. She can get angry. She always says what's on her mind. But she's so good in her career. When you listen to her interviews, she's so good at the big picture. And I feel like sometimes I get stuck in like the small little details of things. I let that fuck with me, you know? She gives the most beautiful eulogy. He already had another wife and other children, and it's the most beautiful. I'd love to show you a bit of it. I am scared of TikTok.
I've been writing this stupid eulogy for the last...
Here's a quote from Cher. Gay men understand that I understand what it's like to be an outsider. To singers, I wasn't a singer. To actors, I wasn't an actor. I know what it's like to fight for your place. Besides, gay men are very choosy and they have great taste. So some controversy first, because I would be an idiot not to talk about it. In 1973, Cher came out with a song called Half Breed. I don't want to show it. I feel like, I mean, she's on a horse. She has an indigenous headdress. The song is about being half indigenous. She came out and said her mother was Cherokee, and then there's never been any proof of that. Recently, she came out to defend it again on Twitter, the song. In 1983, People magazine reported that her mother has some Cherokee blood, along with Irish, English, German heritage, but her father... I don't think anybody that would have indigenous blood would use a headdress. Because her father's Armenian American. In 2017, nobody in their right mind would take this seriously as an emblem of Native American cultures. Except Donald Trump's new Canadian American pop star appointee for Native American ambassador on the National Diversity Coalition, former Pussycat Dolls member Kaya Jones. Announcement that she will represent Native Americans on a national stage. Jones has been tagging herself as a half-breed. Claims that her father is Apache, I hope I'm saying that correctly, Apache Native American. When asked, she can't name the reservation her father lived on or his tribal origins. But what she can do is represent Native American people. People unfamiliar with half-breed are taking Cher to ask, and Cher flipped a shit. Later apologized, taking it as a personal swipe at her mother, who has been ill with heart disease. She tweets, "My mom's not doing well. I should have put her down after. I couldn't fix everything, make everything better, change everything. I felt frustrated, attacked from all directions, etc., etc. Poor me." She's like making fun of herself. "Thanks for kindness." And apologize again and again and again for the angry response. It's just not right. I think when Half Breed came out, that song, I think she was trying to tap into like people who love Westerns and like some kind of like pride. Maybe somehow she always felt othered and she thought she could relate to, I don't know. But she does have, you know, a history of appropriation, you know. Also, I just Googled it. It's Apache tribe. Let me Google once more. Apache tribe. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So, I mean, Cher also recently, Cher was in some kidnapping plot. Let me read it to you. This is according to People. Literally, this was published October 11th, 2023. Cher is speaking out about her relationship with her son, Elijah Blue Allman. Last month, a report resurfaced that the music icon allegedly hired 4 men to kidnap her younger son, 47, from a New York City hotel room. In an apparent intervention in November 2022, Elijah's estranged wife, Marie Angela King, made the claim in divorce documents she filed last December that recently surfaced. Regarding the abduction allegations, Cher tells People that rumor is not true and declines to comment further, but she confirms that this is a private family matter concerning her son's addiction issues. I'm not suffering from any problem that millions of people in the United States aren't, Cher says of watching her son's years-long struggle with substance abuse. I'm a mother. This is my job. Listen, if I was in the mud of substance abuse, my mom, I'm not defending her. I'm just saying I cannot relate to being a mother of a son with substance abuse issues and knowing what it did to their father. So she continues, you do anything for your children. Whenever you can help them, you just do it because that's what being a mother is. But it's joy, even with heartache. Mostly when you think of your children, you just smile and you love them and you try to be there for them. Cher has accomplished a multitude of things. I mean, I'm going to list them off to you. She was featured in Mamma Mia and is the sole artist with a #1 single in 6 consecutive decades, a Broadway show based on her life, a Vegas residency, 326-date farewell tour ended in 2005 as one of the highest grossing concert tours of all time, seen by over 3.5 million people and earning $250 million. Cher and her costume designer, Bob Mackie, have also become legends in the fashion world. Like, hit after hit after hit. One time for Bob Mackie. Let me hear you. All right. But one thing does continue to bug Cher to this day. Sonny and I aren't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it seems kind of rude because we were a huge part of a certain kind of music, and we lasted for a very long time. I have so much of everything that I want that those things usually don't bother me. It bothers me a little bit more because Sonny was a good writer, and we started something that no one else was doing. We were weird hippies before there was a name for it, when the Beatles were wearing sweet little haircuts and round-collared shirts. The Rolling Stones were the only ones who understood us. People hated us here. We had to go to Europe to become famous. We influenced a generation. It's like, what more do you want? Actors don't take me seriously either. So I always thought, I'm not an actor. I'm not a singer. I'm somewhere in between. And I've always felt like an outsider. So it doesn't bother me anymore. And I like that status, truthfully. And I like you too, Cher. Dare I say I love ya.